Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on when you're watching this live mastermind. We have Caleb Bartlett with Spruce Lawn Care down here in Texas, and we got myself, Will Kelly, the host. So thank you guys so much for tuning in on your Saturday with us for the live mastermind Q&A, where we answer your questions. So for anybody that is watching, make sure to go ahead and put your questions in the comments. I think we're live on YouTube and we're live on Facebook too. So depending on where you're watching, we are here to help and serve you. Caleb, how's your morning going this morning?
It's going great. I was in the middle of making food, and then you texted me. I was like, "Oh, okay, we gotta hop on." Yeah, no, it's been a good morning. Yeah, I'm feeling good.
Awesome. Um, so quick announcement for anybody that is watching, whether it be now or in the future from now. So quick announcement here. So up until the end of December for my YouTube channel right now, I am running somewhat of a free promotion for anybody that is wanting to do a free 20-minute coaching call with me. I do have a paid version of that for 50 minutes, but I am running it's completely free. It's to help you guys. Our season is slowing down right now, and it helps me get some content out there from a podcast style like format, and also helps you with your business. So anybody that is interested in that, you can email me at it's media@militarylawncuts.com to set up a basically Q&A type style one-on-one session for 20 minutes from now all the way up until the end of December. So make sure you take advantage of that. It's completely free, and hopefully that helps you guys grow your business and helps other people on the channel that are able to watch it. It is recorded, by the way, too. So just know that. But wanted to put that out as an announcement. So other than that, so Caleb, how is your so we're coming up here fall time. We actually just went bi-weekly last week. Or actually no, this week. This coming week.
Yeah.
We're going bi-weekly. And I'll tell you one thing, I messed up. All right. So I called Larissa actually yesterday. I was like, "Hey, I need to write this down in my like black book or like the annual book of like things not to do and to remember, because we only really switch people over from weekly to biweekly twice a year in the spring and the fall, or weekly all summer." But basically, um, I emailed all of our mowing customers, which is close to like 250 of them, and was like, "Hey, we're starting our biweekly mowing, and so next week there's literally nothing on the schedule outside of
Mm,
like 13 budget hours of landscape jobs." And so now I'm literally having to call the crews off, like even the good ones, like, "Hey, sorry, I don't have work. You have to come back the following week on our heavier week," which I've already kind of prepped them that things are slowing down anyway. But what it would have been better if we strategically cut it in half or close to it and said, okay, these 50% of the mowing customers are going to start biweekly this week, then the other 50 are going to start biweekly next week. And
yeah.
so learning point for me. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
So how are you gonna navigate that now? Are you gonna just tell people like, "Hey, okay, we're gonna skip you some people this week, and then the other people are gonna get mowed the next week"? Or are you just gonna keep it
Like
how it is?
we're probably just going to roll with it. I'm just going to roll with it. Um,
Really?
Yeah, and then probably maybe send out an upsell email for mulch next week. And so, to try to fill in and get some hours. But like we've got I think like 6 or 7 team members on payroll right now. Realistically, I could probably get away with 4 if all of them showed up every day and none of them were sick. What I would be feel more comfortable with is maybe 5, and then always have like a floater or call like, the least reliable one off each week if need be. But yeah, I don't know. Like I definitely messed up. And it's weird because I've done it in the past. I've split it in half, and I'm like, it just makes sense because then it's more consistent, and then at
Yeah.
least you can have, those 4 or 5 guys versus next week, dude. I got actually work for 2 guys. One I'm training to become a GM, but I got 2 guys coming in, and then I'm calling off like 3 or 4 other people. But then the following week, it's like, hey guys, I need all hands on deck. I need all 7 of you coming in. So it's just not
It's
consistent.
imbalanced, yeah.
But yeah,
I feel
so
like you could definitely fix that.
probably.
If you wanna put in the effort, you could probably fix it.
But I think I'm gonna lose revenue on that, right? Like, or maybe I don't know. It's already the weekend. I don't really. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't like a lot working on like Saturdays and stuff per se. But I don't know. It would take a lot of like admin work to have to go back in and be like, oops, disregard that email. We're actually gonna put you on for this week per se. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's up to you then.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the good thing about having a biweekly schedule, I guess you could say, is that it's just kinda rolls naturally.
Hmm.
Like, you already had a biweekly schedule throughout the growing season, but, of
Yeah.
course, you make less revenue on that customer. That's the downside.
Well, that was the other thing because I was talking to our office manager, Elizabeth, and I was like, hey, look, it's kind of complicated to take all of your weekly mowing customers and transition them to biweekly, especially on Copilot. There's not an easy way. Like if I
Yeah,
could just bulk him and be like, change schedule and save me so much time, like I could do that. But I have to go in individually each customer and change that. And so um I was talking to her and I'm like, what do you think about just rolling weekly all year? And if a customer wants to skip, they just let us know. No harm, no foul. They don't get billed if they get skipped. Now, if we come back and they skip for 2 weeks and it's overgrown, yeah, they're going to get an additional fee. But it's like, I don't know. But then again, she's getting slammed right now with a lot of skips. So she's like, hey, I'm coming in, I'm spending 20, 30 minutes of my day every morning just skipping all the people because the grass isn't growing that much right now.
yeah.
So there's that like trade off, but I don't know. What do you think?
No,
Because
I don't like
and well, here, what do you mean? Wait, what do you mean by
well,
no? Give me your thoughts on that. I'll sip my
yeah.
smoothie.
Um, well, the thought in people's minds of staying on a weekly schedule throughout the entire year, especially, like, in the wintertime is, like, nobody's gonna want that. So it's just gonna lead to, like, more admin work, right? People likely canceling as well because it's just painful for them because now they have to tell you every single week, "Hey, I wanna skip, skip,
Mm,
skip." So it's more of a pain to keep you,
makes
so you're
sense.
probably gonna have more cancels and make less revenue. So I would just say if you could just try to switch the schedules to biweekly, but make sure you split them up to where you have consistent weeks. That'd be that's how I did it this year. I mean, I was able to do it naturally, but if I was in your position of weekly only, that's how I would do it. But it's all up to you, kind of what you want. But yeah, I understand that though, because now you're gonna have to go back and spend all this time changing the schedules. There's no easy way of doing it. It's kind of
Yeah,
a pain in the butt.
that makes sense. That makes sense. You're
Yeah.
right. You're right on that. Now, obviously, we wouldn't say weekly during the winter time, but like at least from like March 1st to November 15th, like the
Okay, okay,
yeah,
okay.
is
I
kind of
thought
what
you
I was
meant like
referring.
all the way throughout the year.
Yeah. But no, I hear you on that. It's kind of a hassle for the customer. I mean, we do, don't get me wrong. And then like here's the other thing too. Like we're not like offering biweekly during the summer is not an option for us because all of our customers have a fertilizing program. We're not going 2 weeks. And then what's going to happen is it's going to rain on that second week and then it's going to go to the third week. And when you're fertilizing a lawn, whether it's a rain delay or a truck breakdown and we can't get to them that week and we got to get to them in the fall, dude, it's going to like they're going to take so much more time on the properties. The budgeted hours are going to be whack. Like, so just that consistency is kind of obviously what we're striving for. But so like offering biweekly in the summer is not really an option. Um but yeah, we do have customers in the summer that are consistently every other week. They're like, skip me, skip me, skip me, which is
Playing the
fine. We
game.
we we
Yeah.
we offer it, but you know, but
Yeah. I understand. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. And that's my thoughts when I'm on the biweekly schedule. But whenever it gets slow, like the grass kind of starts to slow down, like in August, was like super dry. August, September, October, it's nice
Hmm.
on the biweekly schedule because you're just getting through them like quick. You're not
Yeah.
growing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I wanted to ask you, Caleb. Obviously, we're towards the end of the season. I can't believe it's about to be November, which is crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
it is crazy.
Reflecting back on the year, what are things that you can think of that lessons you have learned kind of the hard way throughout your season that hopefully could help other people that are watching this either now or at a later point? What are those big things that kind of stand out to you?
Yeah, stop wasting your time on stuff that doesn't grow your business.
Like, what do you mean by that? Like, give me what does that mean?
Yeah, I gotcha. That means like avoiding the work that you need to get done that's going to grow the business by doing menial tasks like cleaning your truck out or like organizing the shop all the time or it's like scrolling the internet to see if you need to buy something. You're trying to find supplies to buy. Like just wasting time on stuff that doesn't matter instead of doing like the work you should be doing. That's something that I did I feel like a lot this year, just avoiding the hard work and replacing it with other tasks. Um, Really, my main focus should just be sales and hiring at this stage of my business. That's it, like sales and hiring.
Yeah.
So that's probably like my biggest downfall of this year. I would say the second one would be hiring the wrong people. I hired like a lot of people at the beginning of this year. They just were not a good fit, and not knowing like what is good in an employee necessarily, but being able to figure that out through making the mistakes that I made was very helpful. Um, but yeah, I wish I would have hired better, but I learned from it. I feel like.
Where do you think you fell short on hiring better? Is it in the interview process? Is it in the holding the standard in the first week or two? Is it where do you think you fell short on that?
Yeah, just hiring people like that. Um, because I would do like a lot of interviews and then it just stuff wasn't working out and people wouldn't show up. I was like, okay, well, it's starting to get busy. I need somebody. So I would just hire somebody without doing like my due processes and whatnot, like I usually do. Um,
Were you calling their references?
you see, on one of my employees, I did. All my employees, I've called the references, but on this one that I'm specifically speaking about, I called his references and none of them picked up, but I still hired him.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. So,
Honestly, yeah, I and I've gone down that road too, and you probably need somebody, and you're like, "Ah, I gotta hire him," but like, I'll if I really like the candidate, I'll call the guy and be like, "Hey, I'm having trouble getting a hold of your references. Can you reach out to them or let them know I'm trying to get a hold of them? I need them to call me back." I mean, obviously, I left them voicemails and stuff, but because you really want you want to hear their tone over the phone
yeah,
of how they are and their work ethic and stuff like that.
100%. Yeah. Um, no, but just to throw it to you, like, what were some of your biggest learning moments and maybe some of your biggest mistakes that you would learn from this year?
So there's kind of two that come to mind that I just think of right off the top of my head. I didn't take a ton of time thinking about this. The first thing is this, which I don't think is necessarily a mistake. I mean, probably, obviously, I'm going to take extreme ownership for it, and I could have done better had I had the experience, but I didn't have the experience. When opening a new location, we were shooting for $125,000, which is like 15 grand a month. That is not how you open a second location with a general manager. We're literally going to lose money on the second location, and it needed to be double that at least. Realistically, about 300,000 is what you need to do in the first year. Putting a general manager in place where you're not the one doing it. If you're building it from the ground up, out of your garage, out of storage units, very lean, and you're not paying yourself that much, 50,000 a year, yeah, 125,000 is fine. So moving forward, the new standard that I've learned is 2 trucks, 30,000 a month is the goal that we must hit, like by May of opening a new location. And so it's going to take a lot more revenue. I think we only put like I only put like 15 or 20K into the location. And
Hmm.
so at least need to double that. Realistically, like 60,000 is probably better. If you can get it up to 80,000, that would be great. But like you could probably swing it with like 60K to like really get 2 trucks, get the general manager in place, spend 20,000 on marketing, and then ramp it up. So yeah, I would say that because we're basically and we're gonna lose money all winter until next spring, and then I'm gonna have to dump probably 25,000 more dollars into it to get it to where it needs to be. But then after that, we'll be smooth sailing there. So I'd say that just underestimating how much money it takes to start a second location and to set the boundaries, and then the spinoff of that is just I finally have dialed in how to hold a GM accountable. Finally,
Hmm.
after 6 months,
Yeah.
I now understand how to hold a GM accountable, and if they're not meeting the requirements, I'm here to help and get them there, but if not, we got to put somebody else in there that can hit these, you know? And I just failed. I just didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. And so, yeah, I would say that. Um, did you have any questions on those two before I give you number 2?
Yeah, so I know we spoke about the GM. I'm actually interested in this now. I don't know how much detail you can go into, but like, what have you learned? Like, can you go into details or specifics on like what you've learned with having the GM and like what your standard or expectations are now?
There must be clear, defined, fireable offenses. You must set the boundary of like if you don't meet this for 3 strikes you're out rule, whatever it is, for an extended period of time for multiple weeks, this is what will occur. Setting clear KPI expectation boundaries of how many budgeted hours they're supposed to do each week. That is required. If you put somebody on salary and they're not producing, but they're a working GM and they're doing other things or they're clocking out at noon or whatever, you're just losing money. Like, you know, um, so just making sure they're producing in an efficient way, just like you would hold a field member. Like, dude, you got to do at least 5 budget hours a day. If you're doing only 3, what's going on? We work 8 hours a day. How are we only doing 3 budgeted hours, right? Like just holding those clear expectations and additional to all of the other responsibilities that they need to do. It's not that like, oh, hey, you're a GM now, so now you can only do 3 budget. No, it's like you're still going to do your 5 to 6. Oh, and by the way, you're probably going to have an hour or 2 of estimates, and then you're going to have to call like you may work an 8, 9, 10-hour day. It just is what it is. 9 months out of the year. Obviously holding them accountable to a close ratio. If that thing gets too low, you need to definitely step in. Like transitioning, because like here's the thing, and when I was getting guidance from a different business owner, actually Brandon Muse, on P4P, I was going in and I was giving him every excuse of why they weren't hitting the numbers. This one was sick. This one had a long weekend. This one, just getting through training. I had all these excuses, right? It's too windy. It was, it rained that day, whatever. And at the end of the call, he's like, dude, Will, he's like, number one, I can tell you care a lot about the team because you're sitting here and giving me excuses why they're not hitting the results.
Mhm.
You need to become a result orientated leader. That all that matters is the numbers, the KPIs, and the results. I care about you. I love you as an individual. But if you're not hitting the results, you got to go. Just like a running back in the NFL, if their numbers are continually declining, there comes a point where the next running back steps up and needs to produce, So, yeah, just that transitioning to a more I think here's what I would say is I began to get more numb to the excuses per se and just focusing on the numbers. It's like, okay, I hear all of that, but the number's not where it needs to be. That's a problem. Period.
Absolutely.
It's you. It's your responsibility. You are in charge. It's up to you. And if you can't make these get to these numbers, we're gonna have multiple conversations. But you know, that's what it comes down to. It's just
Yeah.
literally looking at the numbers. That's it.
Yeah. Whenever you look at the numbers, like, it takes out all the emotion of the situation. It's like, "Hey, if your close ratio is 20%, like, we need to improve that." It's just it's all the emotions gone.
Yeah. And there's 1,000 things why. I went on vacation. I was sick. The internet wasn't working. Whatever it is. Whatever it is, like it's still 20% and that's a problem.
Yeah.
And the standard is this and we're not there. And so at the end of the day, I need somebody there that can do that. And so, that's really just what I've like transitioned more to. I don't know. I think I care a lot, so it's sometimes hard to be just that like black and white. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think you could definitely have some, like, emotional quotient when dealing with people,
Mhm.
but you've gotta have a balance, right? Obviously, focus on your numbers, but at the same time, have an emotional quotient or an IQ, like an EQ, um, and have a balance between the 2 because they both matter, right? You gotta
Yeah,
understand people and what they got going on, and then also look at your numbers and make a decision on how to handle that person based off those 2.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I'd say that's the biggest thing. So really, like more money into a new location, holding a GM accountable to the numbers. It's just a numbers game. That's
Yeah,
all it is. And if after 2 weeks we're not there, okay, step one is a write up. All right, after the third week, step two is another write up. And like if we're not hitting it, then I need to get somebody in there that can, and like um I had a third one. I had a third one. Um yeah, it slipped my mind. I didn't write it down.
keep that. I
Yeah,
always have to write stuff down because 'cause it'll slip out of my mind if I don't.
yeah. But no,
Cool.
that I'd say those are the biggest things. But those are the biggest things. So
Awesome. Yeah, those are some good insights. So with the GM, like, how do you even manage a GM? Because like, you're leading a leader now at this point. So how do you go about leading this person, like, from your experience?
what do you mean by lead?
Like, how
Like,
do you get him to, like, hit the numbers that you want and handle, like, employee problems that are his employees? Like, how can you lead him to doing those things?
I think a lot of it just comes down to communication. So I'll tell you. So right now, with our current GM at the new location, um, we do a weekly coaching call. I think one a week is not enough. Especially if it's a new GM. Like once they're like rolling and they're like and they got it. Okay, yeah, fine. Once a week. Now, granted, just so you know, I don't show up there ever. I mean, sometimes I'll pop my head in if I'm over there, but like I don't show up for meetings over there. I'm
Yeah.
not there. And you know, and I told him, I'm like, look, I'm not coming in to save the day if you're behind and helping you out mowing. Like this is you and your location. And I set that clear boundary. Like it's up to you. It's gonna succeed because of you, or it's gonna fail because of you. And so, um, yeah, I think probably twice a week would be much better. But sitting down once a week, going through the numbers, setting those clear expectations up front is really important. And then just really like when you sit down and go through those meetings, like you're just going through exactly like what you were looking for. Like for example, on Copilot, I'll pull up the calendar and it's like, okay, you had 50 budgeted hours on the schedule this week, right? And you know, let's say 10 of the hours didn't get done, but now they're getting pushed back a week. It's like, okay, that's a problem. Why are we not getting this done? We had enough work. Well, somebody was sick on Monday. Okay, then we should be coming in on Saturday, right? Like, and just, you know, I think that weekly check-in is like extremely important to just do temperature checks and make sure that they're on track.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So really just a communication aspect of it and like the weekly meetings, you know. And they need to know too, like if they are falling behind and like where and which category. And so actually I've got I think I've gone over this in let me see if I can pull up my screen for
Is
you.
this the scorecard?
It is, but I actually tweaked it a little bit. Like I said, I'm starting to get more dialed in. It's been 6 months. So
Okay.
um yeah, it's hold on one second. I just want to make sure I'm on the right thing. I'm starting to finally like understand like the key things I need to be looking at every time, right?
Okay.
And so this is like the most dialed in scorecard now that I have. I know I've sent out a couple different variations of it, but let's see here. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So, um, so each week, as you can see, we go through this, and I literally just started this like 3 weeks ago and finally dialed it in. But so for budgeted hours completed, for us, what I think is sustainable because we also do weed control. You got to mix like there's other like time variable things that are in there. But 25 budget hours is like the minimum. That's 5 hours a day. In an 8 hour day, we should be able to do that. Right. On top
Okay.
of like, on top of doing, you know, scheduling, dispatching, closing out the dispatch board, stuff like that. And then I do include estimates on that. So every estimate is a half hour that they complete as a GM. So like first off, I'm looking at okay, how many budget hours are completed by the GM? They need to be doing 25. Any questions on that line?
No. So do you keep track of the budget hours completed by the GM? What about the team?
So that's down
Like,
here.
overall?
So that would be the efficiency score of the entire team.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So this one, when you put a GM on salary, the last thing you want him to do is just like outsource all the work to the team and then him like not do anything because you're paying $52,000 a year for him. You want like 3/4 of that to be like productive, like him like making money for the business. Otherwise, he becomes 100% overhead. And then it's like by the time you add office staff in there, like it just doesn't make the business healthy. And so that's why the working GM is such a great model because it's like we're holding the GM accountable to still be productive as a working person out there. Um,
Okay.
and then
This is
so
cool. Yeah.
yeah, And so close ratio, again, I mean, growth mode, right? Like they're in growth mode, so there's no reason they shouldn't have above a 40% close ratio. In fact, our main location has a 40% close ratio. Plus, they charge 80 an hour. The new location charged 70 an hour. So there's already a price decrease on that, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and so, and then I'll show you kind of how to fix that here in a second. But, and then efficiency score, obviously. So we say anything above a 70 is good or fair. It's average. Anything above a 90 is great. So 90 would be green. But anything below 70 is bad now.
So do you have it to where it's automatic? Where, like, if you put a 90% in there, it'll go to, like, really green? Or you, like, do it
No,
yourself?
I just
That'd
do
be
it
kinda cool.
manually. Yeah, yeah, that would work. Honestly, this takes me maybe 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes a week. Like, and literally what I'm starting to do is like, I don't even pre-fill these in anymore during the coaching call. I literally, with him watching my screen, I go to P for P and I'm like, all right, let's pull your numbers every day. And then I'm like, whoa, okay, what happened on this day? And then like, again, he, you know, or she, whoever, it doesn't matter. Like, tells me what happened. But like at the end of the day, all I care about is these numbers. And like if they're red, if they're poor for performing. If they're yellow, you're doing average, what you're supposed to. And if they're green, you're crushing it and going above and beyond. Um,
Gotcha. Cool.
yeah. And then I like putting like the upsells here too, because I got so much stuff going on and I got two locations. I'm like, well, what was the last upsell that we did? And I don't do them at the same time, but it's like I can at least look here and be like, oh, okay, we did aeration and a text upsell on this week. And then this week we did, a bush and bed service. So like I think on this one we're gonna be doing a mulch upsell. For the following week. So
Okay. No,
yeah.
this is great. Yeah, this is super simple too.
Yeah. But dude, honestly, this right here is the core of it. How many budget hours is the GM doing? What is their close ratio? What is the efficiency score? What is their budget hour capacity? So this is like when you look at Copilot and based on their workforce, their assets, like their truck, the team, like he has 55% of the schedule that's not being used right now. Now, granted, we're going into fall and we could sit here and like do all that stuff, right? And that's all true. But like then at the end of the day, it's like, okay, then we need to probably send out an upsell to try to get this percentage higher, you know?
Right.
Um,
Yeah,
and
this
then
is great.
yeah, and then like if
And
any of
then
these,
do you
I'm
just,
sorry.
like, you physically sit them down, or you just hop on, like, a Zoom call and kinda just go over all
Yeah,
this?
we just hop on actually a StreamYard video call. I share my screen like I'm doing right now, and he watches me go through it, and I track his data. And then some, and if they're doing well, I praise them, and I'm like, dude, you're crushing it, great job. And then if we got two that are underperforming, and then what I do here is I pull this up. This is just an example for anybody, hopefully, who's trying to build their leadership style. They can maybe learn from this. So I'm not really counting the upsell, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 categories. So on this scenario, last 3 weeks, right? Like they did well on these 3, and then these 2 are underperforming. So if we go 3 divided by 5, that's a 60% score. So
Mm,
I grew up in a Catholic school, and to me, that's an F. But if you went to a public school, that might be a D minus. But either way, obviously we're underperforming. And so realistically, where I would want to get is all of these categories are in the yellow or green. That's where I would feel really good. GM's doing what they're supposed to, right? Like taking ownership, understanding. And then what I do is like, let's just say, for example, okay, their close ratio is 24%. It needs to be above 40 to be yellow, by the way. So
yeah.
because they're in growth mode for our location. So what I do is I come back here to the scorecard and I'm like, okay, close ratio is our problem. Okay, how can we fix this? Okay, follow-up phone calls. And I literally am like, dude, did you do follow-up phone calls on the estimates you sent last week? Yes or no? No. Okay. Why not? Like that's hurting your close ratio. Okay. When you have estimates on your schedule, do you wait all the way till Friday to do them, or are you fitting them in on your route and like knocking them out as quickly and as efficiently as possible, and then calling them same day? Oh, you're not doing that. Okay, that's affecting your close ratio. And then I just in a nice way, I'm like, okay, is there any other information or help I can give you to increase your close ratio? Do you understand what you need to do to increase this close ratio? So that way, when we sit down next week, this gets better. Yes or no? Is there any more information you need? And, just really like dialing that down so they understand exactly like what they need to do. It's like, hey, when we get off this call, and then, dude, you know what I do is I go to Copilot, I go to the estimates section, I go to the pending and say there's 19 pending estimates in here. When we get off this phone call, I'd recommend you pull up your Nextiva app and call all 19 of these. Say, hey, our office sent you an estimate. We can get you on next week. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Yeah, that makes it so simple how you've got this set up.
yeah. And then you're like walking them through. And it's like if I look at the budget hour capacity for the next 3 weeks, it's at 45%. There's no question that we can't get somebody's landscape job in. We got a ton of room on the schedule. Half of our
Right.
schedule is open. So like let's sell these jobs. Let's get on the phone. Oh, and like, oh, you already called them? Okay, great. Let's call them again. You took your time, your fuel cost, your energy to send them an estimate that they requested. They wanted you to come to the house. We at least need an answer, even if it's no. So let's call these 19 estimates by the end of the day today. And I also tell them, because I've done this before, shouldn't take you more than 2 minutes to call per pending estimate. Why? 80% of them are going to go to voicemail. So that's a minute, maybe minute and a half to leave a voicemail. The ones that do answer, I'm typically off the phone within 3 minutes. Hey, Mrs. Jones, we came out last week to send you an estimate. I got availability on my schedule next week on Tuesday. Did you want me to get you in on that day or Wednesday? Which day works better for you? Like literally, and then they give me their answer. It's a 3-minute call. And so, with 19 estimates, it shouldn't take them more than 40 minutes to get through that list.
Right.
And so just kind of giving them that information, and then it's up to them, if you sit down next week and it's not getting better, it's like I'm doing everything that I can to help, but I'm not going to do it. You know what I mean? Like I have a job. I already have a job, so I don't need another one to, so
Yeah, that's fair. So what are your incentives for all of these as well? Do you give specific incentives for each of these, or is it just based on like you give them like profit sharing, like
yeah,
a quarter of a month or something?
it's a good question. Um, I'll show you. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to pull this up. All right, so this was our kind of old compensation plan, but basically the base rate is 23 an hour, profit sharing is 18%, and then we did a 2% year over year growth. And then this is the structure we had to like grow the top line.
Mhm.
So like this year though, we only did about like I think this is going to be the most we've done this month is like 16,000. So again, there's really have been no bonus. But once he gets it to like 20K, every month he would get a $600 bonus that he hits 20 to 40K a month.
Okay.
And then 40 to
Cool.
60K, he would get a $1,200 bonus. Anything above 60K, you would get a $2,000 bonus. Now, this would stick with him if he stayed. So ideally, in year 2, 3, 4, and 5, like, dude, he would be crushing it because you'd get your base, right? Which would obviously go up at that point. He'd probably be at like 25 an hour.
Mhm.
And then he'd get these monthly bonuses. But And then I just kind of broke down like the roles and responsibilities of like, hey, the really only two things that matter for them is sales and operations as a GM. And so what does that mean? Estimates, all this stuff, hiring, firing. And then, so here's where I lined up like which actually I guess I put 30%. Here's where I like really sat down and was like, look, these are the expectations and requirements that you are required to hit every week. And so you clearly outlining this, failure to meet these expectations on a monthly basis is considered a fireable offense, which can lead to termination of employment. It's like, okay, productivity, 25 budget hours a week, efficiency, 70 plus efficiency for the team, one or less slips per team member each week, and then sales 30% close ratio or above, and then zero lost revenue. So I added this one too, because sometimes you may have somebody in that role that like is like, oh, well, we could just always, flex the landscape jobs and always push them back and push them back. But it's like every time we push stuff back, we're delaying an upsell that could go out or another job that could open up the schedule. And so like, we don't want to keep losing revenue by pushing and delaying things.
Yeah, absolutely. This is very concise. It's very simple, and that's what you want.
Yeah. But anyway,
Yeah, those are some good incentives too. 2K
yeah,
a month extra plus 18% profits, 23 bucks an hour. It's solid.
yeah, absolutely. So we got 3 people on the live show. I don't know how many we got on Facebook, but this is a live Q&A, ladies and gentlemen. So if you have any questions, towards the end of this, we will be going through a Q&A. So if you have any questions for us, put it in the comments below, and they will get answered by myself and Caleb.
Did
And
we have any questions at all?
I
Did you
don't
see
have
any?
any. I don't have any on YouTube yet, but if you want to check Facebook, you can go ahead and do that. And then just a reminder, also, I announced at the beginning, but I am doing free coaching calls all the way up to the end of December. Why? Well, I got a little bit more time on my hands. I want to help you guys out. It helps me get some content. It is a recorded call for 20 minutes. You can ask me anything about your business to be more profitable, leadership, hiring GMs, doing multiple locations, building a business that runs without you, all that great stuff. All you got to do is email me at media@militarylawncuts.com, and I'll send you a link to get set up. And yeah, it's completely free. So take advantage of it. Literally, I definitely would if I could.
Absolutely. Hey, Will, I saw on the Facebook there's a lot of questions.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, there's a bunch.
Okay. Let's do this. I
You can pull
wonder
that
if
up.
I can maybe let me see if I can maybe if I can share the screen and we can go through them together. That'd be kind of cool,
Okay.
huh? All right, let's do this. Let's cut this off. So we want to present, stop screen. Yes. Present window. All right. We're rocking and rolling. All right. Can
There
we
we
see?
go. Yeah, I can see it.
Cool. All right. So we got some questions on Facebook. Whoa, there's 13. Oh, no.
There's a lot.
All right. Um, can you see all the questions on yours? Because I can only see 4.
So if I'm looking at it on my phone, I could see them. I could just click the go back to the post.
Yeah.
Maybe actually like click into the live. Like
Like, how do I click into the live view insights?
no, like hover over the video.
Yep. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Good stuff,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Hover over the video.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there.
Okay, can you see the screen okay, or does it look crazy?
It definitely looks crazy.
Does it? Oh, man. Okay. Let me think. Really? Let me see. Hold on. Oh, it does look crazy.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff going on. Can you, like, zoom in on the comments?
Maybe. Let me
Try to
see.
zoom in on it or something? There you go.
Is that better?
Yeah, still a little crazy,
All right.
but
That's okay.
it's okay.
That's okay. That's okay.
Make it work, wing it.
All right. All right. All right. I'll let you go first on this one. Brad.
Okay.
Brad's joined us.
Brad Urban. Yes, sir. Got to move half 1 week and other half week later. Yep. We tried to move the half of yards we thought weren't watering enough the first week and moved others the week later. Okay. That's smart, makes sense.
Absolutely.
And that's a question for you.
All right. It says, Will, are you putting down straight pre-emergent in October and November? Or are you putting down pre-emergent with fertilizer? You can technically do both. I don't know about November, but it really just it's based on the temperatures. If you're asking me personally, we just do pre-emergent. Why? It's cheaper. Um, and honestly, the grass starts to kind of slow down a little bit in November. So it does help to kind of try to extend the mowing season by fertilizing it towards October, November. But to me, I don't think it's too worth it because once the temperatures drop, customers tend to just skip anyway.
Should I start treating shrubs and trees next to your pros and cons? I've never even thought about doing this.
Um,
What are your
I think
thoughts?
I think it's an extremely profitable service, Brad. It depends on what you want. We don't offer that. So if you wanted to offer it, I could definitely give you those leads. Or like, customers that want their tree and shrub trimmed or treated. But it depends on what you want to do. If you want to scale a business that one day runs without you, I don't know if adding that would make sense because what I have found is like 1 out of 25 customers will ask for something like that, and it's not like a super scalable service. There's probably great profit in it. If you're gonna do it yourself, you could make a lot of money doing that. But that just depends on what your goals are and what you want. All right. Wow, this is a big one. Let me zoom out a little
Yeah.
bit here, hey. I'm Canadian today.
Mr.
Uh,
Canadian, yeah, do you wanna
I
get that one too?
Yeah. So this is from Brandon Muse. It says we are growing our new location next year. It will still be part of our main location technically. One of our highest performing team members who has been with us for 2 years is being promoted to the estimator role of the new location service area. He is responsible for all estimates in that area and customer satisfaction after the job, handling any complaints, yellow slips. He will not be in the field handling production or managing of teams in that area. He will be bonused based on monthly revenue in the area. He is mainly motivated by competition and winning being the best. What management recommendations would you give to me with this motivation in mind? All right. So this is really interesting, Brandon, because based on what you're doing annually, the fact that you're going to have this estimator basically be 100% overhead is a bit concerning to me. Um, Based on the numbers that I heard from Mike literally in the Copilot Mastermind today, he said that because I asked him if we should get an estimator vehicle, like at what annual gross revenue should we get like a designated estimator vehicle? And he basically said if you're not trying to grow or if you're trying to grow up to 1.5 million, then it makes sense to get an estimator vehicle and put somebody like full time in like estimates. That like million to 1.5 range is where you would ideally want to put somebody full time in estimate sales, um, to my understanding. So I would just be curious at like what annual revenue you're doing, because if you're not trying to grow, like push it up to 1.5 million, I don't know that by the time you add all of the office admin overhead, and now you have this estimator being full overhead, plus like the owner's salary and all that stuff, like I don't know, it might definitely like cut into profits pretty significantly. Is probably my only advice. I think this is what we did. This is what we did on the first location is we did build out our um service area at the main location before we like branched it off. So I think that's really smart of you doing, you know, instead of just like completely separating it from day one. That'll be an easier transition, I think. All right. Corey Williams. I got another one. For Will, what KPIs do you use to measure GM success? I just went over that. Hopefully you were watching sooner and that answered your question, Corey. But yeah, after 6 months of watching, actually, hold on. Is it not in here? Are you able to see my screen, Caleb, on these?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. Yeah.
There we go.
Just as a reminder, Corey, this is it. Literally, like this is what I have found now that I'm like way more dialed in. All I care about is like how many hours is the GM doing? What is their close ratio, efficiency score, budget hour capacity, which basically means do we need to send out an upsell or not? And then the yellow slips. Everything outside of that is just, oh, and there's one addition to this that's not on here, zero loss revenue. So like after when I'm done going through this, I go to the calendar and I look at like the previous week and it's like, okay, were there any jobs that we didn't get done? Did we have to skip any? Did we have to postpone any? Because that's where it becomes a problem for them with time management. They need to be able to manage like their time properly. And that's one of the biggest things for a GM. I feel like sometimes they don't manage the time well yet because they just haven't learned that yet. All right. You can take over now as I sip my smoothie.
Okay, yeah, I was looking at the left side. Okay, so it says Brandon Muse also we agreed. It's only
Sorry.
that's okay. From April 1st to July 31st. Then if he hits certain KPIs, he will continue as estimator after July. If not, goes back to the field team. Again, I think these are kind of more geared towards you.
Yeah. That's an interesting like approach. It's a really interesting approach. I just don't know like if he was, I think you said he was in the field. Let me see. He will not be in
He
the
would
field
not be in the
handling.
field handling production or
Yeah.
managing.
Team members who has been with us for 2 years and being promoted in an estimated role. So like what they've been doing is really operations, and now you're shifting them over to sales, which I mean may not be a bad idea if they're a go-getter and stuff like that, but it's a whole different skill set. So, you know, I do like the trial phase though of like, hey, if they're not performing within a couple of months, 2 to 3 months, like then they're back to the operation side of things. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting approach. I would just say like set the standard, set the roles and expectations clearly of like how many new customers they need to get and like how much annual revenue that location like needs to be doing, and like or that section, that territory, and like if they're not hitting it, don't delay putting them back in operations. Like just get them out of that. Otherwise, like again, every day and week that goes by, they're just strictly overhead. So they're just eating up profits if they're not performing. All right, hold on one second. I think there's another one for me. Do you do your
Yeah.
KPI review meetings with your GM at the beginning or end of the week, and why? It's a good question. I actually left it up to the GM of what he wanted, and based on his schedule, he has a very heavy day, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So Thursday is his lighter day, his lighter mo day. So we typically will do a meeting once he's done with his route at like 2:30 or 3 in the afternoon. And we sit down on a 30-minute coaching call, weekly coaching call, review his KPIs and stuff like that. What I would like to do moving forward is probably next year when the new GM takes over. We're gonna do twice a week at the start, one on Tuesday, and then maybe one on like maybe Tuesday and Thursday, or I was thinking Tuesday and Friday. The reason I don't want to do it on Monday, just being honest and completely selfish on this, I care about the main location and that's my money maker. So like I don't want to give my time and energy to the second location that like may not be performing as well. What I need to make sure is my main location is the priority and making the money it needs to pay all the bills and the office that we bought and all that stuff. So to me, Monday is the most important thing. I need to make sure Monday at my main location is like off to a good start for the week. And that's where I give my time and energy and attention to. And then on Tuesday, maybe in the afternoon is when we'll do that first meeting with the second location. But that's just my mindset. I don't think there's really a right or wrong thing.
Corey Williams, you totally covered the spirit question. Cool. Oh, KPI.
Yeah. Okay.
KPI covered. Okay.
Is that all of them?
Yeah, that's all of them.
Okay,
And
cool.
was there any on YouTube too? You know?
Let me check here. We do have some questions coming in on YouTube. This is a live Q&A, ladies and gentlemen, and it's coming close to the end. Make sure you get your questions out here quickly. So let me go ahead and drop this off, and then we'll pull this up. All right. It says, hello, Will. Hello, Sigurd. I'll let you take this one, Caleb.
He says, I'm a 14-year-old who has a small business mowing lawns, removing snow, cutting hedges, edging, trimming, and more. Cool. That's awesome, man. At 14 years of age, that is super impressive. Good job. Do you have any advice for me? Yeah, just I would use your age to your advantage. Being 14, you could definitely use that to get more jobs. People want to help young kids out that are in their teens or our kids. Um, use that to your advantage. I would knock doors, I would put out flyers, and I would sell, sell, sell. Get as much customers as you can.
Yeah. To add on to that, Sigurd, I think I'm pronouncing this right. So I don't know if you have a CRM yet, but Copilot just released this week that anybody under the age of 18, you get the software basically for free. So I would definitely take advantage of that. And Mike is really promoting that for like younger people to get into the industry. And I think it's an awesome avenue. And yeah, you just want to try to stay organized. And if you build that foundation up front at the beginning, you'll be able to grow much quicker and easier, and you'll be familiar with everything on, customer profiles and things like that. So check it out. I think that would be good.
Yeah, I did see that too. I thought that was super cool.
Yeah, I agree. I support it. Are
Yeah.
there any other questions that came in on Facebook by chance? Can you see? There was 13 that I saw. So if there's more than that, then there's new ones. But I just
That's
want
a
to
really
check
good
that
question.
before we wrap up here.
It doesn't look like it. Yeah, I don't see any more questions. Are there any more on YouTube?
Nope, that is it, my friends. So
Good.
outside of that, did you have any other questions or wanted to go over anything, Caleb, before we wrap this up?
I know we spoke about like tactics for the winter season. Did you kind of want to go over that briefly?
Yeah. So like what for you? Oh, because you just went to the Christmas light thing and you decided to opt out of that, which
Yep.
for your goals, I think makes sense for your goals.
Hmm.
And it's not necessarily good for everybody. I think it's great for a lot of people. And um, so yeah, maybe because you have a little bit more insight on that. What share with us
With
maybe like
Christmas lights, like
yeah,
you're
or
just kind of
just like some of the like winter options to make money.
yeah. I'm not a hater on the Christmas lights. Like I think if you want to stay in the business as the owner, you should do Christmas lights. But me, I know myself, I don't want to stay in the business forever. So I know I'm not going to be doing that. It's not going to work for me and my business and my goals. But if you're okay with still being in the business, absolutely. It's going to give you a lot of work over the next 2 months. It's also going to keep you slightly busy through January. And then literally a month and a half to 2 months, the spring season starts. So I think there's definitely an advantage to doing Christmas lights, but it just depends on your goals. Um, but other strategies, something that I'm doing is winter services. So most people have probably heard of it potentially. Me and Will have talked about it, but we do something called winter services where we're coming out on a bi-weekly schedule during the winter months, and we're doing different services on their property, like weed pulling, shrub trimming, just general property care, maybe like edging and mowing occasionally as it needs it. Um, and we're basically just spending the same amount of time on that property doing these different services as we do with the mowing. And last year I did it. I actually kept quite a few customers on the schedule just with that.
Yeah.
Last year was my first year doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. At our main location, we retain about 65 to 70%. It'll be really interesting to see how many we retain at the new location because they're all brand new builds and the trees are like 7 feet tall. And so there's no leaves. Their bushes are almost shin high because they're brand
Yeah.
new bushes. Like it's gonna be a little silly at the new location, but whatever.
It's definitely an interesting thing with the new properties, but maybe you could sell it as like, we'll keep up with the mowing as well, if that's
Yeah.
like their only issue. And then obviously maybe if there's like a forest around, they'll probably get some leaves,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
cool. Any thoughts on winter stuff you can do in the winter to stay busy besides winter services?
Not really. I think you hit it. I think you hit the nail on the head with depending on your goals, Christmas lights could be a really good option. And and I don't think it's a bad thing. Everybody has options, right? Like if you're where it snows a lot, you have snow removal. Obviously, Christmas lights is pretty much general everywhere. Um, and then you have most of the time you have that fall leaf cleanup season that typically picks things up. The leaves haven't really started to fall just yet out here, so we're in this weird lull where things are kind of slowing down. We're waiting for the leaves to kind of fall. But and then winter services I think it's such a great opportunity. We lost, not lost, we left so much money on the table our first 2 years by not offering winter services. We did, however, offer monthly mowing, but yeah, dude, those winter services is like phenomenal.
Yeah,
So
there's hardly any money in monthly mowing.
yeah. And it's the
Hardly.
best. It's the best because you know why? You go down to 33% of your team. So whatever you had in the peak season, just understand it goes down to 33%. But you know what? You retain the top talent all winter long, you know? And then we're already having conversations with our guys of like, hey, part-time jobs, full-time jobs in December, January, February. When you guys come back, you'll get a sign-on bonus. So we're going to do probably about a $500 sign-on bonus for every team member that comes back. Why? Because it costs us a lot of money to have to hire and like energy and time. I'd rather just give our guys that are already trained $500. Shoot, I would even maybe go up to $1,000 depending on like if that's not good enough for them. Like if I could get 3 or 4 solid dudes back in the spring, I'd give them each $1,000. We would hit the ground running, dude, and we would upsell
Yeah.
so hard in the springtime. And you know how it is; it gets crazy in the spring. So like just to have that foundation back and like hit the next year running. Oh my goodness, dude. It'd be phenomenal. And then all the new team members come in and learn from the guys that are already there. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I agree.
but
Yeah,
cool.
definitely try to also like another tip is just don't just keep people on the schedule paying them and they're not doing anything. Like they're just
Mm,
cleaning. Like they're just cleaning or like doing random errands that don't produce any revenue. Like avoid that at all costs. Like let people go if you have to, if you
yeah.
need to. Like just let them go and tell them they'll come back in the winter. Give them a bonus.
Yeah. So Dude, you hit it on the head because, again, when we implemented P for P, I think 3 years ago, that first year that we did it, we were like, "Oh, we gotta keep people on the payroll, cleaning the shop, cleaning the bathroom," like, just doing busy work that wasn't making money, and we left so much money on the table. We lost so much money doing that. This year, dude, very black and white. Okay, let me first. I care about all my people. Just so everybody knows, I care about them and I wanna pay them really well. The reason I'm doing this is because I care about them, and I basically told them, I said, "Look, last quarter, we pulled in, not to brag, but like literally was our most profitable quarter last year. We pulled in $80,000 in profit. It was crazy." And I told him, I'm like, "Look, the last thing we want to do is go into Q4 in December, January, February and pay people base pay, $18 an hour, to clean the shop all day and not make any money for the business. And then all of a sudden that $80,000 worth of profit gets wiped out because we're trying to keep people through payroll all winter long. I would rather have you and from the team perspective, you're making 18 an hour. Go somewhere else and make 20 an hour or 22 an hour and then come back in the springtime and make 30 an hour because that's what people make here when they're
Mhm.
actually producing." And so, yeah, it just that's my mindset this year is profit. And so, like, unfortunately, the frontline team members are expendable at the point where it's like if there's no work, they don't come in, unfortunately. But and so I've been really prepping them like for a month now of like, hey guys, we're gonna slow down, you know. And then here's the other thing that really worked well this year. So we call it the big three. We got it on a poster in our wall. So the big three is are they reliable? Do they show up every day, not leave their shifts early or call off tardies? Number two is um, are they or quality over quantity? So, one or less slips a week. And then number three is production. Like, are they, getting above 70% efficiency and then 5 budget hours a day? What I tell them is, guys, going into the winter months, the people that do the big three are the ones that have security here. Just is what it is, right? The guys that show up every day that don't give me a lot of headaches of having to move schedules around because they don't show up for their shifts or they're late or they get a lot of complaints. You guys just make my life easier when you do the big three. And the ones that do the big three really well, don't even worry about it. You're going to have hours all winter long. Now, if you are somebody that is tardy or you're late or get a lot of slips, just know there's only so many hours I can give out. So you may be a little bit lower on that totem pole, and you may, we're going to have to cut back some of the hours. And that's really created like a good culture of like, I don't know, them like wanting to do the big three, which is really kind of all we care about from the front line standpoint is like, are they doing those things?
Yeah,
So
absolutely. No, that's smart. I should do that too.
yeah, yeah,
Put some stuff on the wall.
yeah. But well, cool, man. Anything else got for the people?
Uh, yeah. Um, yeah, cut costs in the wintertime. Like that'd be my last thing is like just cut your costs. Things that don't matter. Like just cut it out. Stop paying for all the extra stuff that you don't need.
Mm,
Um, is what I would focus on. And then yeah, back to like with people and employees, like again, just don't keep people on the schedule just to keep them on the schedule. Like if they're not producing revenue for your company, like they they should not be there getting paid.
right. And
Yeah.
to build off of that, just so you guys know, for the first 4 years, we put our labor payroll under wages on the P&L. But just recently we switched our field workers to COGS, which is cost of goods sold, because technically that their cost of goods sold. Like when the season slows down and the grass stops growing, we cut back on COGS, right? Like you don't need trimmer line anymore because you're not mowing. You don't need edger blades. You don't need a lot of fuel because you're not using the trucks a lot. You also don't need a lot of people. They're technically a cost of goods sold in the service to sell the service. So that was another kind of eye opener too. That kind of gave me permission to be like, hey, it's okay to kind of be like, hey guys, we can only retain so many people. so many hours, stuff like that. So
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
cool. All right. Well,
Let's go.
everybody that joined us this week on today's Saturday. Thank you for joining us for the live Q&A. Anybody that's watching this after, thank you for watching. Make sure you click that subscribe button. We're on the road to 10K subs. And Caleb, thanks for joining me today on the live Q&A. It was fun as always. And
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on.
absolutely. You have a great rest of your week.
All right, you too.
All right. We'll see ya.
Bye, everybody.